So some craziness happened last night. Right now it's March 17th, 2020, 3:36 p.m. And last night at about 9:30, which would have been March 16th, 2020, I was laying down in bed. So I live on the corner of Seminole and Delaware. And at about 9:30, this is Monday night after dark, I heard a four-wheeler or a dirt bike drive north up Seminole. And instead of driving up and through the road, I could hear the distinctive engine close by. So they were doing something close by. I assumed that there's just some local who were riding their four-wheeler, their dirt bike, and they were just turning around right here. Then my dog started to bark up a storm, so I walked outside, and then I went to go get a closer view to see what was going on. And I could see some red lights, which looked like it was actually by the rocks, by the river. It looked much further away than what it was. But I kept watching the red lights and walking closer to see if I can make it out to see what I was seeing. But at the time, I was like, is it a campfire? Is it brake lights? Or is it arson? So I was watching from my house, and I saw one single white light. So I could see, probably the fire or the brake lights. And then there was one white light right next to the red lights. So there was a white light, it looked like maybe a campfire, white lights right next to it on the left-hand side, and then I saw the white light slowly but surely go southbound. And so the direction of the course that this person took was up Seminole, left to Delaware, and then south at the end of Delaware on one of these back roads. So they came up from this direction, right? So they came from that way. They're going north, right? So that means they came from that way. They went ahead and set on fire on, Delaware, the house and the car. So there was arson. Arson happened, as what happened last night. So I get, a closer look. I see the white light move southbound down a back road at the end of Delaware. So I get a closer look. I see the red lights still, and what the red lights, I believe, what they were, I didn't know it at the moment at the time. But it was the car in the driveway, which is about 4 plots west of me, that was on fire. So it's about a quarter mile, 500 foot, maybe 1,000 feet. So I didn't know that the car was on fire at the time, but I realized that it wasn't just a campfire when the roof to the three-room shack caught ablaze. Once the roof to the three-room shack caught on fire, I knew exactly what I was looking at, and I called 911. Now, I thought it was a four-wheeler at first. I know it's not a full-size vehicle because it only had one single white light. And then the rice burner, that engine, it was it had a loud, distinctive, small engine. So like a four-wheeler, dirt bike, something like that, for sure. So, okay, the red lights, at first I didn't know what I didn't know what the red lights were. So eventually, once the roof catches on fire to the three-room shack caught on fire, then, I knew exactly what I was looking at. And actually, I called the police station, then I called the fire station, or I called the fire station, then the police, then I just said, all right, I'm just calling 911. And 911, I didn't know if they would, they had a 911 system out here. And they said, are you on the corner of Delaware and Seminole? Are you on the intersection of Delaware and Seminole? I was like, are you looking at me right now? So that was, pretty cool. Then 35 minutes later, at about 10:05 p.m., the first 2 fire trucks arrived. Eventually, 5 fire trucks are going to be there, and a police officer are going to arrive. The firemen are going to put out the fire. Mostly, it was still smoldering in the morning. And but the firemen came from San Luis and Jaroso, and none from Mesita. I'm not for sure if Mesita even has a fire department. They got a government building over there. But they came, and they put out the fire, but the house is gone. The house is toast. There's no more, nothing left of the house. So I guess the fire was put out, and it didn't catch, the prairie. This grass is pretty dry, so the fire didn't catch anything else on fire. Now, I don't believe anybody died in the fire. The fire department and police weren't forthcoming with information, but that seemed to be their main focus, was just to make sure that there wasn't anybody, that had died in the fire. There were 2 people that were living in that little 3-room shack about 3 months ago. It's a peaceful man and woman, and they've been gone for at least 2 months. And I don't see, I never saw anybody else that was over there coming or going or nothing. There was a vertebrae that was found in the rubble, and I don't believe, anybody was over there at the time of the arson. So, unless they were just so very, very discreet, for 2 months I couldn't even see anything, them coming or going, or maybe, just peeking outside. So, and they didn't escape the domicile when it was on fire. So if there was somebody over there, I don't believe that anybody died in the fire. I think that's very unlikely. That's what they were focused on. The vertebrae, as a betting man, I would bet that the vertebrae is an elk, a dog bone of some sort, but not a full spine. So perhaps 1 week ago, I had noticed that the door to that shack was wide open. Sometimes I go walking around here with my dogs. I was walking over by the house one day. I saw that the door to the shack was wide open. So if, I had been gone, I would want somebody to shut my door, all the rodents and weather and whatnot. So I walked over there to go shut the door, and I was very careful too. I was like, okay, I'm coming up to your own house to shut the door, and nobody said anything. And so I went in there. I didn't went in there. I went up to the door, and I noticed that the couch and the coffee table was missing. And so the couch and the coffee table was missing, but I didn't think nothing of it. It didn't dawn on me that it was, I was looking at a crime scene. So I just shut the door, and then I, kept on walking. But I saw that the couch and the coffee table had been taken out. I talked to the couple, the man and woman that was over there. I forgot their names, but they're peaceful men, and one single man, one single woman, about in their 30s and 40s. So about a middle-aged, peaceful couple. So I've been over there, so I know, that they had a couch and a table, and also you could tell by the floor, it was just, it had an outline of where the couch was. But I didn't automatically assume that the theft, perhaps the couple had taken their couch with them, or maybe one of their friends had asked to take it, and they came and got it. I didn't think anything of it. Maybe, the wind blew the door open, and there was some logical explanation to the missing couch and table. Now, I didn't see the actual person or the vehicle itself. I did not see the individual, probably a guy, but individual, maybe a woman, or individuals. There might have been another person there, right? They have a small engine vehicle, so a four-wheeler and a dirt bike can only seat 1 or 2, maybe 3 if you're really ambitious. So whoever committed the arson crime, I did not see the specific vehicle that they used, nor their faces or how many there were. I'm assuming one person, and it was wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Came up, drove up, lit it on fire, drove away. Less than a minute. They took less than a minute in order to do it. So it was too dark. So I was laying down when I first heard the four-wheeler, and then, got up and walked outside. I would guess there was only one person, but there could have been another one. I heard the small engine of a four-wheeler or dirt bike and saw the single white light in the distance driving away from the crime scene. Because the vehicle drove northbound up on Seminole to Delaware Trail, then, to the end of Delaware Trail, and went southbound away from Delaware Trail. That's where the perpetrator came from. They came from down that way. They came from a household either south of the Seminole and Delaware intersection where the arson crime happened, or maybe south and to the east. But they came from that direction, unless, they're just geniuses, and it was somebody from all the way up there, and they, drove all the way around. But that's a lead. That's a lead. That means it's, local. That's somebody local. I got a firebug that's, within 5 minutes of me, and it took the fire department and the police 35 to 45 minutes to get here. So there's only a smattering of households, that's south of me, and how many of those have a dirt bike or a four-wheeler? So that means you could canvass the neighborhood, ask some questions, and get to the bottom, get down to the bottom of this. Who set this house on fire? This is one of the worst crimes. So who, set a house on fire? Do the people, I'm sure the people in charge wouldn't want their houses set on fire. So I hope that they take this as serious as if this was their friends or family or, their own house. Because there's a firebug. There's a person going around lighting. This isn't the first arson. There was another fire that was right here. Not a mile. I could see it. I could see the flames, and then eventually the fire department and whatnot. But it was about a mile away from here. So within a 4-month time span, I've saw one household. I never got any information, so I just, assumed the best and assumed, okay, maybe the family or whatever, it was cold, and they, something tipped over and the house caught on fire. But now that I know that there are people out here setting houses on fire intentionally, now I'm starting to think maybe that household, that's too close. That's too close. And then you never get any follow-up with, what the hell happened. Is there a person going around setting houses on fire? Because the public has a right to know that. And we should, investigate and go find the firebug. Who is setting houses on fire around here? So the two leads, there's two leads. Not only was it a local person, there's three leads. It's a local person. They own a four-wheeler or a dirt bike, and it had a working white light. I saw that white light that was right next to the red lights. So, older vehicles don't always have, working lights. So I have, it's a dirt bike or a four-wheeler, locally, around here, and it has a working white light. So not much to go on, but it's something. And it's possible that, from my vantage point, the two headlights were parallel with each other, so from that distance, two lights look like a single light. For the longest time, the fire truck was just a single red light, like really far away. So, and then from the distance, the two lights, it's possible it could have seen like a single light, but I'm thinking motorcycle, single light, but also four-wheeler, two, white lights in the front, and then those white lights are, the white light that I had saw. So, since they drove up Seminole, and then drove to the end of Delaware, and then went south on the back road, they knew the dirt roads so well. That indicates that they're local. So I can only guess at the motive. Perhaps they burned it down to get rid of their fingerprints from stealing the couch and table earlier. Or perhaps they had a personal beef with the couple. I mean, someone suggested that people do this to burn it down to steal the copper, but the shack didn't seem to have any copper piping, and so that can't be it. So to me, it only seems like it's one of two reasons. It's either revenge or cover-up of their earlier burglary, but I feel like that perhaps even their burglary was revenge too. They didn't like whoever these two people were, and so it's revenge, right? That seems the obvious and simplest reason to me. It was also suggested, and this was by a police officer, that there's people out here that once people leave and they abandon their, house, then other people burn their house down as like a public service as a way to sort of clean up the neighborhood. So he's acting like it's, it didn't seem like he was taking it that serious, and then he suggested that it was a good thing. Oh, it's a good thing. It was a shack. It was a 3-room shack, but it was made with 2x6s. The door was real thick. And so it wasn't like it was just the crap. I've seen worse, structures around here that, haven't been torched. So, I'm only speculating on what the motive is, right? So the facts are there's, a rice burner, a, dirt bike, some kind of ATV, some sort of four-wheeler, some sort of motorbike, not a motorcycle, not a car, not a truck, not a tractor, not a fire truck, but some tiny small vehicle that has a working white light, a tiny small vehicle that has a, working white light, a dirt bike or a four-wheeler, and it's local. It's just right here. So I'm only speculating on the motive, and in some respects, that's the thing that I want to get to the bottom of. Who in the hell would do something like this, and why? Why would they do something like this? I wanted some sort of explanation. I wanted to make sense, but I guess I just, for the sake of closure, that's not always the best reason, but that's sort of where I'm at right now. The whole thing happened very quickly. Somebody drove up, they set the fire, and then they drove away. They set the fire to the car, and they set the fire to the inside of the house, because I didn't notice the fire until the roof was on fire. So I hadn't seen that the house was on fire until the roof was on fire, so therefore the fire came from up from inside of the house. They came up, probably a man driving a motorcycle forward, came up Seminole North, made a left, set fire to the car, and then there's the white light that was next to that's probably the red lights I was seeing. The car was on fire, and then he was inside the house, set that on fire, and then took off, then got the hell out of Dodge. The great skedaddle, then took the hell off. And it took me a minute to register, and, you know, I don't know. I feel, in my own personal thoughts about this, just because you always feel, I don't know, I feel like I'm one of my harshest critics because you could have done more, right? You could have done more. I could have registered. A crime was happening the moment that it was happening. You know, I was laying down, and it was, you know, dark or whatever, but I could have been more ready. I could have been more ready. Those people were nice to me, and they'd never done anything to me. And I don't know, did they say something? You know, what the hell? And even if they did say something, does it justify burning a house down? This is one of the worst crimes that's out here, right? I mean, there's murder, rape, and all, you know, and burning someone's house down, and it happened so quickly. So I feel like I could have done a better job at, you know, of realizing that a crime was in progress, and then, you know, done something about it. Or perhaps when I was on the dispatch and I called 911, this fire had just started. So part of me thought that maybe I could have just taken a 5-gallon bucket over there and maybe nipped it in the bud. The roof was on fire. The car was on fire, so I might not have been able to save the car. I probably couldn't have saved the house, but I feel like I wish I would have tried to do something. The dispatch told me not to. But, yeah, I mean, it had been going on for 5 minutes, but by 35 minutes, by the time the fire department got there, there was no chance of anything except for metal stuff, anything that was metal and hard that could have survived that fire. And so it's just crazy how quick the crime took place. It was crazy how quick the house, you know, was gone. So the crime only took a minute, and then the, you know, burning down of the building only took 30 minutes. So, my God, it's possible if I wasn't here, if I hadn't noticed it, if I hadn't called it in, then it's possible that this could have happened and nobody would have been none the wiser, and it would have just burned down, you know, all throughout the night, and nobody would have known. Nobody would have known a single thing. Person would have just burned the house down. They went home, and nobody said a thing about, you know, a thing to anybody. There is 3 households here in addition to my own, so there's 4 households, so it's not like, you know, there's nobody out here. And since there's only, you know, a few households just south, if the police were to canvass the neighborhood, I think I would feel more comfortable with that. At least they're following up. They realize that it's a crime and that arson is a serious crime. And maybe they can find something out by that. But that's, yeah, all that happened yesterday. I want to talk about it today because, you know, just when it comes to the reconstruction of events, the farther that you get away from the thing. So I wrote it all down last night, you know, immediately after it was over, and then I'm speaking about it the day after. And so, yeah. So the facts of the case: 4 dirt bike with a loud small engine with a working white light from south came up here and committed a crime. Those are the facts. It was 9:30. It was last night. And it was either 1 or 2 person came up, drove up, set it on fire, and drove away. So those are the facts. I don't, like I said, I didn't see the person's face. I didn't see the vehicle. But that's, you know, as a witness, this is everything that I know. So crazy, crazy. Oh, man. That happened last night. And it was a second fire. I mean, was that arson over there, too?